All right. Hello, everyone. We are doing the water feels tonight. And honestly, this might be the most fascinating to me. Like the understanding of this and the way it unraveled is just like, wow. So, that being said, we're just going to dive in. I do want to remind you all, you can always refer back to the list, to look to see what is your fourth house from your sun and from your rising sign. We have dual lessons going on. Um, is there anything else I want to say? I'm going to just go there and we'll see what else unravels. So, for water, water feels things like air. And you're like, whoa, what? Air doesn't feel. I don't understand. No, everything feels. We covered that last week, right? Everything feels. And so, what it really is water experiences feelings through the energy of air. Now, I will say for water, I think water is already just the most emotional, just as they are, without like looking into the fourth house. Water is very emotional, water is very intuitive, and there's definitely multi layers to that. So don't let the fact that water feels things through the experience of air daunt you. It does not invalidate any of your feelings. In fact, it probably will validate your experience of them so much more. So when I was thinking about water feels, actually, the song that popped into my head was How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? And that to me is like the feeling of water feels, because water feels like air. And like we discussed last week through air feels, is like air is this way, and air is this way, and air is this way, and this way, and all over the place. And it's really hard to catch air. Like you can catch it in a jar, but you're not going to have the wind in the jar. So it can be really hard to pin down this energy. And it can feel very blustery. Like it's like we're going this way one way, 1 second we're going this way the other. It's all over the place. And I think a lot of times when water experiences feelings, it feels that like it's all over the place. Here it is 1 second, here it is the next second. So how do you solve a problem like Maria? Which I have to say, funnily enough, my mom used to sing that song about me. So how do you solve a problem like Mimi? Anyway, so water is already very emotional. Water can already also have that aspect of like going where it wants. It can be contained maybe slightly easier than air, but water goes where it wants to go. And then we add the air. It just kind of adds to the potential volatility, the potential uncontrollable factor that we can sometimes feel with emotions as water signs. With air ruling the fourth, it's very subject to the wind and very subject to whim. Again, thinking of the winds on like a blustery or stormy day, 1 second it's blowing this way, the next second's this way, then it pops your umbrella. This is how water experiences emotions, and that can be very, very intense energy. I actually feel that air in the fourth is one reason water is actually so very feeling oriented psychic. The first image that I got was actually like bunny ears. So if you've ever had a rabbit or just seen them, or even other animals like cats do it, but just very, very pronounced with bunnies. The slightest breeze or the slightest sound, and they're like, they're moving their little ears around. I should have worn rabbit ears tonight for us. Anyway, but that's kind of like the image I get. Like the slightest little thing, that bunny ear is like, what's going on? There's a sound, there's a noise, there's a wind, there's a breeze, there's a bug within the 10 feet of me, and I feel it. That's kind of the energy of water. That is how water is experiencing the air. Super pronounced, twitching at every little inclination. I've often described air signs too as antennas. So this means for water signs experiencing things through the air, it's like your feeling experience is through an antenna, at the least an antenna. So we'll go into that with Scorpio actually. But there's this antenna that's kind of constantly connecting to you, to like all that is, to the frequencies that you're tuned into, whether you know about the frequencies or not. So yeah, so the water signs have like these antennas that are like kind of picking up the weather, so to speak, the emotional weather, so to speak. So whether it's yours, somebody else's, the collective, water signs, beep, 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 you guys are tuning into it. So that can be, again, quite intense to have to experience. So, yes, with air, there is some. Oh, one last thing to mention about air before we dig into the individual signs. With all air, with all the water experiencing emotions as air, there is some mentalization and story that does go with. So this isn't about you not feeling the feels. Like, you 100% are feeling the feels. But then, because there is that mental energy, there can be some of that snowball effect that does happen as well. The stories, the mental, trying to figure out, well, I'm feeling this way, so why am I feeling this way? I must be feeling this way because of this thing, that thing, and the other. So recognizing that is important, because sometimes you can be like, oh, I'm mentalizing, I'm telling stories. And so that can actually be a key that can help if the snowballs or the overfeeling starts happening. So that being said, let us dig into Cancer feels. So Cancer feels like Libra. And honestly, this is such major ahas for me. So I grew up with a Cancer mother and a Cancer sister. So it was very, very, very well experienced. So for some context, Libra is the sign of like balance in relationships. Libra is the sign of the scales. I often say like Libra kind of experiences things as a pendulum, swinging one way back and forth. So as a Cancer, experiencing things through Libra, there can be a lot of back and forth energy. I've had so many instances of this lately. I would say one really interesting one was my landlord. Uh, her puppy got parvo, and I was actually the one who took her to the vet to take him, and I was with her when she found out that he didn't make it. It was all really sad. And so I'm watching her fully feel. She is somebody who knows how to fully feel as a Cancer and allows herself to, and then swing like, okay, I'm okay. There's a reason for this. He came in, for context, she's a Virgo rising, and so has Sagittarius feels on the other side. So I watched her like wildly swinging back and forth between like the major emotional feelings that she was feeling over the puppy to the higher level understanding of it. So for all Cancers, recognizing that. Now, what adds to that, I do think is important to mention. Cancer is the sign of the feels. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So Cancer already has some kind of wild swinging going on before we even had in this fourth house. The moon, just for a reference point, it changes signs every 2.5 days, which means it's the fastest moving heavenly body in the solar system. And that being said, it changes degrees every 2-ish to 2.5 hours. And every degree does have a different vibration. So Cancers already, without that energy, without even going to the Libra, Cancers already are dealing with so much variability at any given time. And so then we add in the Libra, and it's like, whoa, I'm swinging around wildly. And anybody who has Cancer knows that feeling. It happens. Now, what's also interesting, I think, in the context of Libra is Libra, like I was saying, is the sign of relationships. Cancers, yes, this is Cancer rising as well. Yes, this is for Cancer sun, Cancer rising. Libras, like I said, are the sign of relationships, and Cancer energy can actually be very needy at times, and I think it's because Cancers become so enmeshed, like understanding their own feelings, but also understanding others' feelings in the context of things. One of the things that I've seen with Cancer energies The neediness. I'll just give an example, a few examples. Um, when I was little, it was a very empathetic Sagittarius. Sagittarius feels things through Pisces. My mom would do this thing called hugging me off to sleep. And so I was a much older child, still being huggied off to sleep because I would ask her, because I knew, like, I remember this feeling, like, I knew she needed it. She needed Mimi snuggles. She needed me to snuggle. I actually wanted my space. I was like, I would like to be alone now. But I knew she needed it. And so for a really long time, I actually would ask her to huggy me off to sleep for that. It's really funny because I was talking to a friend this week and she was talking about her daughter who is a Cancer. And she was saying how her daughter will not sleep alone. And she's definitely of age. I think she's like 10. So she's definitely of an age where she could. So a lot of times Cancer really does enmesh that energy. And I just find it really fascinating because, like, again, Libra is that sign of relationships. So, like, whether it's like balancing for Cancer to be around somebody, or if it is some of that like emotional enmeshment, like, okay, I'm used to feeling things like through the guise of another, and I kind of need that to help like figure out where I'm at. It all feels very, very connected to having this Libra energy in the 4th house. So for Cancers who are needy, it makes really a lot of sense that there is this like this Libra energy. All right, so okay, so one of the things, Cancers can be fine. I love what she said. Nicole just said, my daughter's a Cancer and won't try anything new unless she has a partner. Yeah, it's Libra in the 4th house. It feels safe to have somebody there. And again, it can be like kind of buffering, like, okay, I'm familiar with your energy. So like, this makes me feel okay as the wind blows and I'm like swinging pendulum wildly with all the other things. Like, okay, I know what your feel is. Okay, this feel can almost be stabilizing kind of thing. So, yeah, so Cancer energy can be fine one moment, and then the wind blows, the pendulum swings, and the next second they're not okay. The next second they're feeling somewhat hysterical, you know? And again, could this be the moon changing? Is it this, that, the other? There's so many layers to this. Joe just got home. So that's okay. Hi, Jojo. Anyway, so Cancer is always trying to find some semblance of balance in the fields. And Libra is the sign of balance. If you saw yesterday's scope, I mentioned, you know, Libra is usually finding balance by falling out of balance. So again, Cancers can feel quite off balance. Now, again, speaking of Cancer as a Libra, I really do feel like Cancer also may subconsciously feel like they, the close people in their life, they are meant to process their emotions. So if you have a child that's a Cancer, helping them recognize, are you feeling your thing? Or is you feeling somebody else's thing? I think that can be a really important early childhood thing to like tune into, because Cancers so much enmesh. And again, the enmeshment happens, like, it's not about shaming the enmeshment, but it's learning how to work with it, because that it does happen. So let's see. What was I gonna say? I keep having this one thought like bounce in my head. It's literally like a bouncy ball. It like bounces in, bounces off my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to talk about that. And then it bounces out again. And I would like it to just stop bouncing so I can bring it forward. Come on, Cancer, settle down. Cancer. Oh, okay. The nurturing energy of Cancer, again, really feels very connected to this Libra. And again, to speak of my mother, my mom was so good at caretaking and nurturing others and not so much herself, and especially like my father. And so when he passed, my mom still literally has no idea actually how to take care of herself because she was so used to caring for others. Now, I can relate to this on a weird other level. So some of you guys know, I don't know, I don't talk about it too much. Joe and I are twin flames. So in a twin flame relationship, it's very crazy, but you are very enmeshed with the feelings of others. I mean, when I barely knew him, I was experiencing physical symptoms of what he was going through. We weren't in any communication or anything, and I'm like shaking and literally feeling what he's feeling. So I understand this because I'm constantly trying to help him to help myself. And people are like, well, that's codependent. That's also physics. It's some level of weird alien twin flame science physics. But I feel that cancers kind of experience this as well. That they're like, okay, I feel their things so much that you can be normal human and you can walk not on your tiptoes. You can go outside. Right. Go ahead. Just get it over with. Okay. Thank you. Door squeaking. Anyway, so I feel
I cannot be exposed.
He's the bouncy ball. Anyway, cancers, I think, experience this to some level of the people that they're around because they're feeling their feels in that Libra relationship. They're like, well, I'm going to, try to take care of you. I'm going to try to help you out so that I can be okay too. And again, I know that there's some level of codependence in that, and yet feel what you feel, like you can't really help that. So it's really important for cancers to be very aware of that and not to neglect self-nurturing, even if part of their experience is, feeling others' feels, like Luce, feeling other people's feels and trying to make it okay through that, guys. So, right, that deep empathy for others, that deep connection that Libra brings. And this can be, she misses Jojo, if you can hear the screaming of my cat in the background. Lucci, come here. Come here. Come here. He's outside. Come here. Poor thing. I would not be surprised if she had cancer somewhere in there, the way she responds to him leaving. Anyway, are you back in here now? Okay, good. Luce was screaming for you. It's very distracting. Anyway, so the Libra relational energy, just keeping that in mind, that's what I was saying. Whether it is a close relationship, those are the ones that we're more susceptible to, or Cancer is more susceptible to, but even just, again, acquaintances, because we have to keep in mind, again, the air thing. I always say, like, for Libra, it's not so much an antenna, it's more like, I always think of like Libra as like butterfly, like butterfly antenna, but again, it's still picking up, it's still feeling the vibes and feeling the things. So again, just keeping that in mind, there still is like kind of this supernatural ability to tune into what is going on. Let me see. One last thing to mention. I think Cancers can sometimes define how they are feeling through others. And I kind of mentioned that. One thing I've noticed with Cancer energies, it can be said best through, thank you, Erin. She says, the Cancer rising, this feels so spot on. And I don't see this in you as a Cancer rising, but this can be with Cancer energy. And this is just one example. The misery likes company kind of thing. A Cancer wants, again, to be able to bounce off somebody what they're feeling. And I have seen Cancers who have been like, well, I'm feeling bad. I want somebody else to feel bad with me. In fact, that is what my ex-boyfriend did. The one who got me into astrology by being like, you're so good together, but this one thing, what's wrong? What didn't go right? It was that. The misery loves company. If he was feeling bad about himself, he would purposely say things to me to make me feel bad so that, like, I would drop down to where he was. It's not just misery likes company. It's all the layers of things. You like all the feels. But a Cancer, again, experiences so much in tandem with somebody that Cancer's happy. They'll be like, come on, get happy. That was my mom so many times too. Like, come on, I need you to be happy with me. Let's be happy right now. You know, like the Cancer experiences that feeling in that tandem energy. So being aware of that, I think, is a very important thing. So keys for Cancer feels. Relationship with yourself. I mean, that's one of the keys of Libra energy, is nurturing the relationship you have with yourself. So if you are a Cancer, or you know a Cancer who is, again, feeling the need to nurture so much other people, it's understandable, okay? But nurturing the self, connecting to the self, building that relationship with the self, really important. One of the keys I always say of Libra is like, find harmony in yourself. So again, I'm not knocking finding harmony in others for Cancer. Like, for instance, for me, if I'm feeling out of whack, one of my favorite things to do is listen to Abraham, because that will shift my vibration. So it's not about, not being able to like use other energies to shift your vibration, but knowing to look toward yourself. That being said, also recognizing how susceptible you are in relationship, again, whatever kind of relationship it is, to the other's feels, that you are definitely tuning in, sensing, processing these other feels. Learning to check in with yourself first, that's a really big key. Checking in. Is this mine? Is this somebody else's? I don't really know. But how do I really feel? Like, beginning to really like ask yourself, like, neutrality. How do I really feel right now? Okay, I feel a little something in my solar plexus. Is this mine? Oh, it's not. Okay, let that go. Release that. Send that into the earth. Whatever your process is for that. Really helpful, really supportive in this. Or even if it's like, okay, I'm going to pull cards. Even that's how you figure it out. Learning how to tune in for yourself with that. Understanding how sensitive you are to others, and knowing like it's okay to remove yourself if you need to. Again, that you're not responsible for processing other people's stuff. So, and I don't necessarily know, like I discussed last week at the air things, like, can we really process other people's stuff? Maybe to some small extent, but I think people ultimately do need to process their own things. So, and then also recognizing your personal sense of balance. It is very affected by the weather. And by the weather, I mean that collective. And the collective including, where is the moon? Where are the planets? How are they affecting me? So Cancer feels. It's a major thing. So does anybody have any questions about Cancer? Anything they want to say? You can unmute yourself or type it up in the comments. All right, good. Okay, then
I'm definitely jiving with the twin flame energy. With that makes a lot of sense. Like, just when you put that into perspective, it's like, oh
yeah,
this makes it had a little bit of an aha moment. This is all just so spot on. You're amazing, Mimi. Keep going.
astrology is so amazing. It's such a good lens to like explore and understand things. So thank you. Like I said, this all to me, like, I've never actually seen this taught, and I've looked online for like a few little insights, and I really haven't found much of this online either. I'm like, damn, this is important. So I'm excited to bring it forward because this is important. All right, so that being said, let's move into Scorpio. I'm really excited for Nicole. Any other Scorpios in here? Because wow, this is so much insight. And I think you'll hear some good mirroring to what was said earlier. So Scorpio feels things through Aquarius, and you're like, what? Aquarius doesn't feel things. No, we all do. Aquarius knows how to compartmentalize. So Aquarius is like, I'm not going to go there. No, thank you. That being said, I don't really think that Scorpio gets that option. However, I do think Scorpio can use the compartmentalize, being like, okay, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to scuttle off to my cave. No one disturb me. I will be over here processing all of the things. So I think this might be one of the most fascinating for me to explore. It's interesting because Scorpio, out of all of the signs, seems to be, I think, the most willing to go deep. Now, keep in mind the antenna analogy that I brought forward at the beginning. When it comes to Aquarius, it's not so much an antenna, but it's like a gigantic satellite dish. And you've probably heard me talk about this in the scopes. Like if you listen to the scopes, I have talked about the satellite dish. So Aquarius has the gigantic satellite dish, like taking in all of the information from like the universe. And Scorpio feels things through the satellite dish. Scorpio's like, okay, I'm feeling this thing. Scorpio's, I'm feeling this thing. To me, this is why Scorpio is the sign that's most likely and most able to deal with like the darkness, because literally Scorpio is tuning in to all of it, the light, the dark, all of it. Scorpio is feeling it. Scorpio feels the collective to the max, all of it. Like all the stuff that's trying to be hidden, Scorpio's like, nah, you can't hide it from me. You cannot ever hide anything from a Scorpio, truly, because they are tuned in. I actually think, Pisces usually gets like the award for like most psychic, and Pisces is pretty psychic. But as I think about my experience and even just like tuning into this, I actually feel like logically Scorpio maybe. And I've had a lot of really great experiences with very psychic Scorpios. So Scorpio is willing to go to the dark because they're fully exposed to the dark. It doesn't matter if Scorpio is heading off to their little cave. They are tuning in, they are feeling the collective, and they know the darkness is there. You're like, yeah, you push that under the rug, I can still feel it. So very intense energy for Scorpio. I also think that this is part of why Scorpios do kind of, trying to put this into words, kind of like to keep things, Scorpios can be very private. They kind of like to keep things to themselves. Is part of this Aquarius energy. Like, no, not everybody is ready to, not everybody can handle me. Not everybody can handle this. Again, Scorpio is like very tuned in to everything that's going on, subtly or not so subtly. Whether they consciously know it or unconsciously know it, Scorpio is very, very, very tuned in. I always think that Scorpios also, like, they always just seem to know. They really have their finger on the pulse, whether it's the pulse of like what's happening in the world, but it's also like your pulse. Scorpio is amazing at hitting like the Achilles heel, or hitting like the nail on the head, or hitting the button. They know the trigger point. Literally, Scorpio is tuning into it all through this satellite dish energy. And like I was saying, Scorpios can compartmentalize. Like Scorpios can give really good poker face. Like, no, I'm not giving it away. I'm not, you can't, I'm not going to let you know what's going on with me. But truly, there's no avoiding the feels. It is just putting it aside till it's time to like kind of scuttle off to the cave to be able to deal with things. So Scorpios tuning into the collective. And I think it's a beautiful thing, but it's a major challenge as well. So a key for Scorpio is doing the clearing, recognizing like, if things are dark in the world, chances are at some level you're feeling the darkness. Now, we learn how to cope as humans. We learn how to deal with these things, right? So you may have learned how to cope. You may have learned how to deal. But next time there's a big event, I think we're still in the midst of big events, right? Like, take a second, breathe. What are you feeling from the collective? Like, notice what you're feeling from the collective, and then compartmentalize, put that over there. Okay, what do I feel in me? What is my authentic experience of the feeling versus tuning into the shadow, the light, whatever that is of the collective? And I think that can be really powerful for Scorpio to be able to differentiate and be able to feel and experience the difference between those feels, because there will be differences in those energies. Speaking of the finger on the pulse of the collective, the light and the darkness truly may not be yours, but there is some level of knowing and learning how to deal with these feels that are coming in. I think that's a really important thing as the Scorpio, because I think otherwise that dark can become so dark. It can become very oppressive, you know, like there's so much light in our world, but there is a lot of darkness to also, you know, contend with. So learning how to like process it, deal with it, I think is a really important thing. I love what Nicole said. People are surprised when I'm not judgmental about them, but having felt the emotions of everyone around me, nothing surprised me. I think that's with a lot of Scorpios. I'm thinking about like one of my really close friends. She does clearings for a living. She does clearings called SRT, and yeah, nothing phases her because she's heard it all. She's heard it all. She's felt it all. She's seen it all. I think that's, you know, and that's the thing. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart, so I'm not experiencing things through the guise of Aquarius, but I have to say, like, there's actually a quote about this. I can't remember exactly what the quote is, so it's me paraphrasing, but it's basically, if you took all of the troubles, the shame, the insecurities of everyone in the world and piled it in, you know, a bonfire, we would all be kind of shocked how similar our shame, our insecurities, all of that stuff is, you know. And I'm not saying that there isn't some stuff that's like, you gotta take care of that, like you really gotta do some healing around that. There's definitely that, but truly for most of us, not so average people, the shame, all of those things, it's all so similar, you know, and we're all kind of working through it. And I think Scorpio can really like recognize this. So yeah, learning how to deal with these things. Alone time is very good, very important for the Scorpio energy. So taking your alone time, but don't necessarily isolate yourselves, because again, you can isolate, you're still going to feel it. Like it's literally like the satellite dish on your head being like, and this is what the weather is right now. The weather meaning the feels. So that don't isolate, learn a clearing form. I have to say, just side pocket, SRT is really cool. My friend the Scorpio taught me SRT several years ago, and I've used it. I actually have the charts right here. It's pretty cool. I'll just show you as a side note. I've used it quite a bit to help myself and Joe. Speaking of the twin flame stuff, there's these charts, and this is like the main chart, and you use a pendulum, and it kind of tells you like, okay, go to this chart, and it clears all kinds of things. Oh my goodness, so helpful. So SRT, spiritual response therapy, and if you feel like you want to learn it, let me know and I'll put you in touch with her. She is currently on the way to France right now. Her family is from France, so she's on her way there right now, but she does teach it, and I highly recommend it. So Scorpios or Scorpio peeps, keep that in mind. Does anybody have any questions about Scorpio?
I don't have a question, but I wanted to comment that really resonates with me, because when I describe my emotions, it feels to me like wind chimes, and it makes sense that it's an air thing, because I'm just like, something struck a chord in me. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it's going, but I got to deal with it now. Right. And I heard somebody say, and you know, it makes sense that it's a satellite dish, but somebody said, when you ask a Scorpio what they're feeling, Scorpios don't answer, and it's not because they want to keep everything to themselves, but it's because they're like, well, which feeling do you want to know about? Because they're probably feeling 100 at the same time. And I was like, yes, that is it. I never know how people want me to answer that question, so just like pick something that they seem like they would be interested in.
that makes so much sense. And everything that you were saying earlier, you know, like I'm feeling everybody else's, and I was like, oh my God, wait till you hear this. Like, it's so on point, right? So
yes,
it's a fascinating thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Like which feeling? All of them at once through the satellite dish, 100%. All right, so we are winding up with Pisces, our last water sign. And Pisces experiences things as a Gemini. And this for me was like so much, oh my gosh, I see it, and so much like, what does this even mean? So we are going to explore this. So Gemini is the sign of the twins. Gemini can kind of be a little bit multiple personality-ish, not diagnosing, just saying. With Gemini, there's like the good twin and the naughty twin kind of energy. Gemini also has the ability to chameleon and kind of reflect the energy. Again, we have this antenna thing going on. I think out of all of them, it's like I said, different antennas. Libra is like, the butterfly antennas. Aquarius is the satellite dish, and Gemini, I think, is like, the old-fashioned like antenna with like the lights on it, beep, 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 absorbing frequencies. So Pisces is so fascinating with this. Like my first image of Pisces that comes up with this is even the glyph of Pisces is it so connects to this. The glyph of Pisces is two fish, like swimming in opposite directions. So right there, it's like this Gemini energy, like we're going this way, we're going this way. Being a Gemini rising, I mean, Gemini really does like, which way is the wind blowing? Okay, we'll go this way. Oh, it's changed. Let's go this way. And Pisces also can very much be in that energy. It's interesting because Gemini and Pisces are both mutable signs. And so this energy is very mutable. It's very changeable. It's very dependent on the moment. I think the chameleon energy is really, really appropriate for Pisces. I think Pisces is usually known as probably like the most empathetic sign. And I think it's a form of empathy, but it's like literally Pisces, like either reflecting or even somewhat morphing into the energy that's being like reflected at them, that they're connecting into. So whether it's, a person around them or whatever, they're just easily chameleoning. We've made it a verb. Pisces are easily chameleoning into this other energy. It can be very, very, very unpredictable. Gemini, again, like, are you going to get the good twin or the bad twin? It's not about good or bad. It's just, the more agreeable twin or the less agreeable twin. There's so many ways of doing this, right? So Pisces fluctuates between all of these energies. Like, oh, I'll be this one right now. Okay, now I'm going to change to this one. So you don't ever actually really know what you're going to get with a Pisces. And I think that's true for even being a Pisces. Like, all right, well, here's today. I don't really know what I'm going to get. Okay. All right, and I'll just reflect it. Just keep swimming. Just going to swim along doing that. Pisces are so influenced by the moment. What is happening in the moment? By the information of the moment. So the information, which they do interpret through this feeling guise. Now, what can be very important with this is if there is a sign of the storyteller, it is Gemini. So Pisces, through the feelings, are already naturally telling the stories. Now, are these stories true or false? I don't know. And maybe it depends. Maybe it depends through their own reflection or reflection, projection glasses that they're wearing. It may depend whether the story is actually true or not. But Pisces, as soon as that feeling starts coming in, there is some level of telling a story or maybe not even telling a story, but connecting a story to this level, which then increases the experience of the feels. So it can be kind of one of those cycling processes. All right, so Pisces, influenced by the moment, by the information of the moment, they're truly empathetic, truly feeling and experiencing the information of the moment. So it's not even just like, because that's interesting, because Gemini, like I said, is the storyteller, Gemini is the messenger, Gemini is the informant. So Pisces are being informed, but they're being informed like on this deeper feeling level. So again, Gemini is like, what's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? Pisces is, what am I feeling now? 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 And if you've ever been around a Pisces, again, they can be very much in the flow and very serene, but more often the Pisces I know are it's very, very changeable. It's so funny because the person who invited me to come see Arkansas, Eureka Springs, she's actually a Pisces. And so she was initially like, oh yeah, we're gonna build cabins on our property. And like, you and Joe, we can move into a cabin on our property. And then you're like, oh, no, we're not gonna do that now. And now they're like, yeah, we're gonna do that, but it's gonna be for Airbnb. And like, oh my God, it's changed around so much. Like, and it's, again, it's not a slight, it's just based on the information of the moment, changing around, moving around, experiencing different experiences. Like I did say, Pisces can be very, very creative energy. Gemini is also very creative in their energy, the storyteller. The combination of this, super creative, but again, can create these stories, good or bad, that can either spiral the feels one way or another for the Pisces. So it can exaggerate the feels, it can make the feels okay. But I find often, and this may be because of like the lens of the world, I find more often than not, there is more of that like spiraling this way. That being said, Pisces also very much carry the Gemini energy of like, I want everything to be okay. I just want everything to be fun. I want everything to be sunshine and rainbows. And again, through the feels, that doesn't always happen. But Pisces does. Like, God, if there's like a sign that's like the unicorns and like idealistic or seemingly idealistic, it can be that Pisces energy, as long as they haven't, even if they've gone, honestly, thinking about one of my best friends is a Pisces. She's gone through super, super, super hard times in her life, and yet she probably is still one of the most idealistic people until like the spirals catch her. So let's see. Pisces also tunes into like the reflections of others, and the reflections of other stories, and they can easily get sucked into the energy of that. Again, that chameleoning that definitely happens to the Pisces energy. Oh, you're telling this story. It resonates with the story in me. Here, I will now be a reflection of you. And here we go, like tra-la-laing down whatever this path is. Let's see. I've talked about that. The Pisces want things to be happy, good, peaceful, rainbows and sunshine. And then that's the good twin. And then there's also, like I said, the not so good twin. I don't like calling it the good and the bad twin, but I haven't figured out the right words. But there is, let's see, the optimistic twin, or it's like Goofus and Gallant. You guys watched, what was that? What was the book? Or not the book, the magazine, Highlights for Children. Oh my God, I was obsessed with Goofus and Gallant when I was little. So it's like the Goofus and the Gallant. There's the Goofus who kind of like messes it up, and the Gallant who's like not messing it up. I don't know. Nicole, my best friend is a Pisces, loves one-on-one conversations, but gets overwhelmed around a lot of people. Definitely. I think that's definitely connected to the Gemini energy. Again, just thinking up the antenna, they're still picking up everything. And then it's like this part of them, like part of the processing is connecting into the stories of it. So I think that's an important thing to realize with the Pisces, is that there's some level of like, as they're processing the feels, connecting it to like a story, whether it's a story within them that they carry, or even creating a story as to why they are feeling this thing. So yeah, it can be very, very, very overwhelming. I think, but to be fair, I really do feel like for all of the water signs, energies can become very overwhelming because, again, that whole antenna thing of what they're feeling. So I do feel that for all water signs for sure. Oh, well, what I was saying about the good, to go back, the good twin and the bad twin, they really do experience They experience the whole thing. They experience both. I think this is a really good time to mention too, there is a theory in astrology that every sign has pieces of the signs before them. So, for instance, if you're an Aries, you just deal with Aries energy, which we know isn't true, but bear with me for this theory. So, for Pisces, as the final sign of the zodiac, they have little bits and pieces of all of the signs. Now, I think truly, like I mentioned in the first class, you're all the signs, we're all the signs. We all experience, all the signs through different lenses, through the different houses. So we all have that to some degree or another. But I really do think that the Pisces is a little compounded by this other deeper experience of having all of these energies in them, if that makes sense. So Pisces experiences like so many different layers of things. And again, it's always just like, okay, well, what's happening here? Trying to mentalize, trying to understand what's going on. And then experiencing like the change of the mind. And even like the curiosity of things. Pisces can be so curious. Gemini is so curious, like what's going on? There's almost like this kind of need to know what's going on because again, it can help them understand what they're processing, what they're actually feeling. So for the keys of Pisces, notice who you're around. More than any other sign, chances are you will become what is around you. Whether it's through feelings, vibration, whatever that, like really recognize the people who you are spending your time with. Notice the stories, the stories that you're telling. Are these your stories that you're telling? Are these other people's stories? Are these ancestral stories? Where are these stories coming from? And are these are these stories supporting your emotional well-being? Really being able to connect into that. Clear. Again, being so empathetic, being so reflective, and all of that, being able to clear and just, okay, this is me. This is me at neutral. I think this is good for everybody though, to like really connect into like, this is me at neutral. This is what it feels like. This is my baseline. This is my homeostasis. To be able to connect into that, I think could help everybody. But Pisces, like being able to like be aware what that is, so that they can come back to themselves rather than, again, being such a major reflector for others. And speaking of what Nicole said, spending alone time when feeling overwhelmed by those energies. Because again, it can become so much when you are processing so much information. And that's kind of what Pisces is doing. You're literally just like processing the information constantly. So that is Pisces. Are there any questions or comments or anything about Pisces or any of the other signs or any of the water signs? Good. All right. Well then, I think we will wrap up today's. Next week, we're going to dig a little bit into a few other pieces of feelings. So we're going to talk about moons, and we're going to just talk gently and lightly about placements of things and other things that can affect our feeling energy as well. But hopefully, having gone through all of the signs now, this gives new understanding of how we all like kind of process and experience the feelings and why it can feel a little bit more intense to some and why some others are like a little bit more removed from that energy. So as always, if any questions or anything pop up, feel free to ask them in the group, especially like under the video. That's a good place so other people can tune into them. And I will see you guys next week next week. Thank you so much. And moon's in Libra, so have fun stabilizing right now. Finding the balance in the feels, because we got the sun in Cancer right now and the moon in Libra. So we're all feeling the pendulum to some extent. So all right, have a really good rest of your night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.